Hey guys, just quickly letting you know that this podcast is now available on Spotify, Apple, all the good podcasting platforms. If you could go over there, Spotify, Apple, leave a 5-star review, really, really helps me out. That's all I ask. Head over there, and if you want to listen to the episodes over there rather than YouTube, you now can, guys. So I'm uploading them, nearly done, nearly uploaded all of them, so you can go back and watch over 150 episodes. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Enjoy this chat with Withers himself, Stephen Boxer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, look who we have on the show today. You may know him as Withers from Baldur's Gate 3. Stephen, it is a pleasure, an honor to have you, mate. How are you?
I'm fine. My grasp of technology, despite the fact that I appear in computer games, I'm hopeless at computer technology, but I'm fine. No, and Withers has been a very good friend. What is the value of a mortal life? The other sort of memorable phrases.
I was going to say, I got to hear that, but you've already done it. Is it Mortal Life, Mortal Soul? I can't remember, but yeah.
Oh, Mortal Soul. I think there are variations on it.
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember. And my other character is is His Majesty, which I went in one morning. They said, "Oh, by the way, we've got another character for you." I said, "Oh, okay. Could you just do as a cat?" I said, "Well, yeah." So I did a cat. And I sort of went like this and talked, in a very cat-like way. And then there was a word that said hiss, and I went hiss. And apparently it's become a byword now in Baldur's Gate. So occasionally when I do this, there's a thing called cameo.
Yeah.
I have to do an imitation of His Majesty and Withers to wish people happy birthdays and tell them to enjoy their life and keep the job they're doing and not leave it. It's fascinating what people ask you to do.
What's the weirdest one you've got?
Well, I'm on the nursery slopes. I've come to all this very late. I have nothing. I have no social media presence at all.
Oh, you're the smart one.
You're the beginning of a whole new world for me. So even at my aged years, it's all new territory. So I've done about half a dozen of these things, and someone said, "Oh, will you tell my friend not to leave their job?" That was quite fun. And then whatever diet they're on, they should start eating meat. I can't remember. So I'm probably responsible for an enormous amount of sort of trauma out there in the cyber world.
Did you ever have any idea how big this thing would get?
No, I had no idea. I mean, this is all completely. Well, I'd done Dark Souls 3, and apparently I played the Slave Knight Gael. And it's only when you talk to people, half my age and younger, and you say, "Oh, I do computer games. What do you do?" You say, "Slave Knight, the Slave Knight Gael." Oh my God! And you realise that there's a big market for this. And of course, what's interesting about it's different from telly and film and theatre, certainly theatre, because it really is worldwide and it's international, and it's a kind of whole new area to explore, and it's interesting and great in terms of earning a living. Fantastic.
So Dark Souls was your first one?
Yeah, I did some Canadian one. I can't remember what it's called now. It was quite weird. It was set in the 1950s. It was quite dark, actually, but it was set in a sort of weird 50s type world of quite sinister people.
Okay.
So that was me. That was the beginning.
Okay. It's not credited here, so I've got no idea. But someone in the comments will let us know, I'm sure.
I'm sure they will. Because I have a memory like a sieve. I mean, I've just posted up here, just in case you ask me any difficult questions, I put my CV up on the computer.
Oh, cool.
Because I got to the stage where, there are things I just did.
That's when you know you're a successful actor, when you have to bring that up.
Discuss. Yeah. But the other thing I did was Elden Ring, which also went huge. And I played a character called
Gowry. Yeah.
And I seem to suddenly cornered this market in 3,000-year-old skeletons. It's a niche area, apparently. And but one day I looked it up, and I saw what. I mean, the stars of these things are the graphic artists. I mean, they do fantastic visuals, and they're stunning, and they really do. They do all the work for you in a way. I mean, you just sit there growling and sort of being a bit hammy, and they give you this fantastic character and all these amazing stories, and they're so complicated, the stories, and people obviously get absolutely entranced by them. And there seem to be so many variations of any particular journey that you go on. It would do my head in. You know, it's all I can do to sort of follow a television police drama. It's great. I mean, they're really complicated, and people take them very, very seriously, and it's kind of addictive. And I can see why.
Is it weird for you to know that literally tens of millions of people around the world are playing these games and meeting characters you've portrayed?
Is it weird? No. I mean, it doesn't make any difference to what I do or the way I do it. I'm not thinking, 10 million people, any more than I'm thinking if I go on stage tomorrow at Stratford, I'm thinking there are 900 people out there. I have this sort of theory that in those cases, actually, there's only one person, because only one person could have one response to you. And that's quite a sort of leveling sort of mentality, I find.
Do you use that for your theatre work as well?
Yeah. Because if I tried to take into account the 900 opinions and then the 9 million opinions, I mean, you would go mad. You would absolutely go mad if you started thinking, or that actually you what you were doing was that important. I mean, it could do terrible things to your ego, and I try to keep mine in chains.
So you've never got a big head over the years. You've always kept grounded to reality.
Tell me, Dan. I mean, I'm probably not the best judge of that, but I
What would your family say? What would your family say?
Well, they're curious, they're interested, and but they don't play the games particularly. I mean, they're here at the moment. But I've got, I mean, my son Finn, he's forging his way in cinematography in the cinema world and music. So the thing about Finn is he's very, very technically oriented. So if I have problems accessing something, like this, then he's the man I go to. My wife is a writer, Tamsin. She writes for theatre and television and film, and she's got some really interesting projects on hold at the moment. My daughter she's deciding what to do with her life, and she's just come back from a 10-day silent retreat. And we were just talking about it this morning, and it sounds absolutely fascinating. So I think hopefully we're all pretty grounded here,
I'm curious what a 10-day silent retreat is.
Yes, I might get her here to talk about it. Do you want to talk about a 10-day silent retreat? Do you want to talk about your 10-day silent retreat to Dan in Australia?
Oh, God, no.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. We can do a separate podcast for Scarlett.
It's all good. I'm curious what that would be like, but yeah, that's.
Well, I was as well. It was pretty hard work, actually, and I mean, you didn't be silent. I mean, in your job as well. I mean, the notion of being silent for 10 days would be tough, I would imagine.
Yeah, even for one day, it'd be tough, probably. No. So, talk me through, what's that feeling like for you these days of walking through that curtain for that first theatre show?
The first preview, I really enjoy, because it's like a voyage of discovery. You just don't, because the audience is the unknown quotient in any production, and they change it, and they make it what it is, the whole. And of course, because the audiences are different every night, they make the play They make all that's in an ideal world. That's how it should be. Every theatre performance is unique. Press nights, I cannot stand because you know that people are there to judge you, and I love doing the work. I love exploring in rehearsal. I love doing the research. I love doing the background reading. I love doing that. I don't like being judged.
Yeah.
But and of course, but it's very nice when they like it. You can't deny that. But I don't. For instance, I haven't read the reviews of the thing I'm doing at the moment. I'll read them all when it's over, and then I will.
Yeah.
So if then it doesn't sort of corrupt your approach towards the work. You can still be objective about it and it reinvent and what have you. If someone says, "Oh, the way he talks is horrible," or "Why does he walk like that?" or why is he doing it with that weird accent?" Then it sort of, you think, "Oh God," and you're conscious of it. You've got someone sitting on your shoulder every night thinking, "Oh, they think that." So that's the nation. That's, in a way, that's part of my theory of doing it for one person. But I don't think of that one person as a critic. They're just normal human beings, and they're they work hard and they try to earn a living like all of us. But I like not to think about them.
But they're honestly, they're looking for something. They're looking to critique you at every point. You know what I mean? They're kind of looking for the negative in a way. No?
Yeah. There is an element of that, but I mean, they can also go the other way, and they can be sort of hyperbolic in terms of praise. And actually, that's not. I remember I did read when I was doing Angelo in Measure for Measure at Stratford, and I did make the mistake of reading a review, and they said the way Stephen Boxer does that, it raises his hand in that scene, and it was never the same again.
Yeah,
because I wasn't aware that it was an epiphanic moment. I just was working with my instincts. So, I mean, raising things to consciousness is what you don't want to do as a performer. Although you do, because that's part of your craft. But actually, you have to you have to make them subconscious ultimately. Then you sublimate them. It's a weird process. I don't know why we do it.
So, how many shows have you done over the years?
Oh, blimey! Well, I've been in the business for, where are we, 52 years. So, but I had a really in the old days. I started with a rep company, which there aren't anymore. It was great. I stayed with a company in the north of England for 4 years, and it was fantastic. We did everything. We made mistakes. We sort of we became a little family, and then from that family, a few of us formed a touring theatre company called Payne's Plough, which went around the country doing new plays in village halls and theatres and all sorts of weird places. And that became quite successful. And we used to do the Edinburgh Festival. And it was like a sort of version of Cheek by Jowl, the company we went to Australia with. And then I didn't do television till I was 30, actually. I just did theatre. And then I started sort of chopping and changing between the two. And I don't know, variety is what I seek. And I love, after this, I'm doing a series for PBS and Alibi, which is called Miss Scarlet and the Duke. And it's a Victorian police drama. And it's a charming thing. It's delightful, with a sort of wonderful cast. And I did the last series, series 4, and they've written me into series 5. And we film it in Belgrade, in Serbia. And they built a whole set of Victorian London in Belgrade with cobblestones, lampposts, shop fronts, little doors, all the notices, wanted and for sale. And it's brilliant, except the one occasionally, in fact, the only thing with doing it in Serbia is that there are occasionally little spelling mistakes, like you might have Westminster instead of Westminster. But and I've always been fascinated by Eastern Europe, and so I'm quite curious to go back there, particularly now, in the current state of the world. These are interesting times, not necessarily for good reasons, but.
How have you found the last few years with COVID and all this sort of stuff? How's it for you?
I think because we're so, we have so much information, it's very difficult to escape from current sort of issues, and they're big issues, and they aren't small. And COVID was absolutely rubbish. It had no actually. Having said that, of course, it did have redeeming features. People got very inventive. And a friend of mine who was a theatre producer, he lost 2 shows on tour and lost a lot of money, something like £100,000. And he thought, okay, he's indefatigable. He rang up his bank manager and said, "Oh, can you lend me 10 grand?" And the bank manager said yes, because his credit rating was good. And he decided to do a film version of a Sebastian Faulks novel, Birdsong, which is set in the First World War, about sappers going sort of under the German lines and planting mines. And he'd done a play version of this, and he got the rights to do a film version. And we were all stuck at home. And he cast it, and he said, "Oh, would you do this?" I said, "Yes." He sent me an iPhone, because I didn't have an iPhone at that time. The costume came through the post. The props came through the post. Then a green screen came through the post, and we put the green screen up in your back bedroom.
Wow.
So he could do CGI.
Is this where your son came into play?
I think he did, actually, yes. I was hopeless with the technology, but I couldn't. And, they say, "Will you press the button on an iPhone?" It's not a button, it's a pinhead. And my fingers are the size of sort of, bricks. But it was kind of a little lighting thing, one of those sort of circular lights they sent you, and you'd rehearse on Zoom. I'd be talking to the character who's my wife. She'd be somewhere in Chiswick, and I'm in North London. And you'd have this scene, sort of argument, and then they'd sew it all together and put a backing on it, and it looks as if you were in the same room. He put it online. It was a 2-hour movie, full-length movie. He put it online for a limited period, for a weekend, worldwide, and got his money back. And so that sort of thing was great. That sort of entrepreneurial spirit. But the rest of it was rubbish.
So those kind of things helped you stay sane during that period?
It did. I was very grateful, actually. Yeah, and we did a couple of them. We did another one, which is a ghost story, and also I managed to do a series in Spain called La Fortuna, which is about a wreck which was discovered. It was during COVID, and I flew out to Spain. Had to have tests every day on an empty plane. Stayed in this huge hotel where they had 260 rooms, 20 were inhabited. The staff couldn't do enough for you. I went to a restaurant in Madrid about 3 times where I was the only customer there. And I'd spend the evening talking to the chef and the waiter. And I had the Prada Museum all to myself. It was brilliant. So there were some pluses. You're absolutely right, Dan. There were pluses.
And so you would have done Baldur's Gate at that time, or Elden Ring, or any of those titles?
I can't remember. I think certainly I would have done Elden Ring by then. Yeah. And I think Baldur's Gate, I think they sort of dovetail. Yes, the characters in Baldur's Gate and Elden Ring are alarmingly similar.
Did you get a chance? Did Miyazaki call in for you for Elden Ring or for Dark Souls? The creator of those games?
I'm not sure whether he was there.
Okay.
There was one time when I was doing Dark Souls in a studio, and all the Japanese sort of bigwigs were there.
That's probably him. Yeah.
Yes, and there was one who spoke English, but I felt I felt, God, I better make this work. And I remember I sort of slightly, I had to do a lot of dying. Oh, and I couldn't stop myself, but it just happened. I made the sounds more and more samurai as I went on. So
what do you mean, samurai? What do you mean by that?
So it was much more like sort of something from Ran, Kurosawa.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah,
and it was just, I mean, I didn't mean to. It just happened. It was just one of those things that you do. It was probably nerves as much as anything. But
so you still do get nervous?
Oh, only then, actually. I think it was quite intimidating. But they all went. I worked with a director who was a well-known. He was a genius, but he was a bit of a bully. And if he went at the end of a scene, you felt $1 million because you knew that he liked what you did. Otherwise, he'd tear a strip off you. There was a kind of inscrutability, but it was. I think I did something right. Yeah.
So walk me through how they explained to you the character of Withers. I'm guessing you work with Beth at Pit Stop and the guys over there. Yeah.
Yes. They're great in giving their notes because they know the whole game, which I don't. And so they tended, yes, I mean, they're very good. If you start overacting, they're very good at dragging you back. And if you sort of try to inflect too much, they said, no, he's dry, this character. He's dry. He's bored with life. He's been around 3,000 years, so nothing surprises him. So all these notes were very good, and I sort of could feed them into my natural propensity for skepticism. And so they encouraged me to find my inner skeptic. He can also be strangely compassionate sometimes. And so the little moments when he of optimism and nurturing as well. Because they're all things to all men, these characters, aren't they? Or all men and women, these characters. And I mean, I've only ever seen tiny little excerpts of them, but I get mesmerized by the artwork. I just think, how on earth do they do that? It's incredible.
So you've seen some of your work on YouTube and that?
Yes, I have. You see what the character looks like, and I mean, quite terrifying, actually. Yes, I don't think I'm going to put pictures of that on my CV. my spotlight page can also play 3,000-year-old skeletons.
Did you do motion capture for this one?
Yes, that's really good fun. I quite like that.
Was that your first time?
No. I did another Spanish thing called Cerveza.
Okay.
In a very big studio down in West. But no, and because Andy Serkis was a good friend of my wife's, and
oh wow,
so he's the god of motion capture. I haven't seen him actually since I started doing this, but I can see why he got drawn in. It's the good thing about my character, about Withers, is that he doesn't move much. So it's not like I've got to prance around the room. All I have to do is sort of raise my hand and, or just look forward like that. And it all reads. Of course. And you realize how little, how far a little goes. And so I really enjoy that. And they say, okay, you've used your left hand a lot. Could you use your right hand? And so they give you little hints. And you have to go through this ritual of striking an A pose at the beginning so all the little sensors read, and then you're off. But they're clever, these guys at Pit Stop and women. They're just technical geniuses, and they're very enthusiastic as well. I really like going there. And I never thought I'd go to East Croydon to work, but I'm in Croydon. It's fine. I was brought up in South London, so I'm a South Londoner. But it's not the place where you thought you'd go and do great art, but they do, and it's wonderful. It's also very easy to get to from where I am, which is quite nice.
So I'm guessing over the years you've had to nail every different English accent, every different region of the UK.
Oh yes, I do. I mean, there are some things I won't do. Geordie, Newcastle, because it's just because I've got Geordie friends and they just laugh at me. But I don't mind doing Welsh, and at the moment I'm doing Dorset. The character I'm playing
Dorset.
Yes, I'm playing this character in the Box of Delights at Stratford. It's based on a John Masefield book written in 1937, and it's about these two evil wizards who and these children who go basically on an adventure where the wizards are trying to one of them is trying to kidnap them, and the other is trying to help them and save Christmas. This is the whole thing. And I decided this guy. My father had a very old friend who was a maths and physics teacher, and he came from Dorset. He was a very eccentric man, and he talked like that, and he had an absolutely wonderful Dorsetshire accent. And I decided that this guy was the perfect model for my good wizard. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm doing a Dorset accent every night. At least I think I am. If you come from Dorset,
you might have a few comments. Who knows? No. So how did you find the voice of His Majesty and for Withers? How was that process for you? Do you just look at the art of them and go, I've got it? Do you workshop it?
I only saw the art later, interestingly.
Oh, okay.
So Withers, the cat is fantastic. He's so slim and with that sort of silky coat. And no, I mean, it really was a morning. I just did it off the top of my head.
Damn.
His Majesty, and just gave him a sort of slightly feline, sort of nasal quality, whereas Withers is way down. He's way down here, at the bottom of your register, and yeah, I mean, basically, you just wing it and hope for the best, and if people like it, you stick with it.
You know, they're calling you the greatest cat in gaming history. Right now?
No, I have no idea. No, well, I'm very. Oh, I'd love to show you our cats.
Oh, you've got cats. No wonder you could do it so well. Okay, it makes sense now.
Let's have a look.
Here we go. Who have we got here?
This is. Yeah.
I'm friendly. I'm friendly.
That's Bear. Did you get to see it?
Slightly. Is that Bear, is it? Yeah.
That's Bear. Yeah, the other one's called Mouse. And Bear's a bit more nervy, so that's why she runs away.
Oh, so you've always been a cat lover. There you go.
Yeah, we did have two. We used to have two Siamese called Max and Sam, who lived to the ripe old age of 16. So I think probably His Majesty was more based on them, Max and Sam. Yeah.
Well, what would you call that personality? Sort of kind of royal, kind of it's all about me kind of thing?
Yes. Yeah, a bit of a diva, I think. Yes. Royal, yes, he thinks he's royal.
Yes.
But I'm not sure whether anyone. I mean, I don't know whether he named himself. I think he probably did.
People are loving your the way you pronounce hiss. I think that got people off to a great start, the way you did that one.
Yes. But it's pure accident, believe me.
Oh,
you don't plan this stuff, which is great. I mean, if we could plan everything, how boring life would be.
Exactly.
Let's make it full of surprises.
But how do you think your cats would, if they met His Majesty? What do you think they would, how they would go?
I would be shit scared. Actually, no. Bear would run, Mouse would be curious. I might take him on, actually.
Oh, okay.
They have different. They came from the same litter.
So Mouse is
So-
protective over Bear, or what?
Oh, just I think Mouse is got more courage. I think Bear is a bit more frightened, personality, a bit more neurotic. Curiosity. I hope we won't kill Mouse, but she is eminently curious.
I know this was a lot of fun for you. Was there anything challenging about it for you?
I suppose when I first started doing it, I thought, it was a completely new field to me. So I thought, is there a way of doing this, and can I do it? But I have to say, people like Beth, they're so lovely. All the directors, and you have a movement person, you have a voice person, you've got Beth in the. I mean, that you've got a lot of help, people sort of guiding you in the right direction, and also ultimately leaving you to make decisions yourself, which is that's how it should be, a perfect sort of synthesis. So I think I got fairly relaxed fairly early on with this stuff, and I hope to do a lot more. I mean, it's a growing industry. God, it's huge. It's bigger than film and television now, and thank God for it. Because we all need to earn a living.
Yeah. So you're not going to stop here. You want to do more in the space.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And whether one thing leads to another, I mean, who knows? But I feel you do everything for its own sake, and then if there's any spin-off, so much the better.
Well, you're on a bit of a roll at the moment because Elden Ring was the best game of last year. Baldur's Gate 3 is the best game in the world of this year. So hopefully next year you make it 3 in a row.
Wow, that wish. And what will it be called? Who knows? I just I can't wait. About that.
Hey, I've got some fan questions here. I put out that I was going to be speaking to you, and the number one thing that people were saying, your delivery of no. How many takes did to get that perfect no?
No.
Yes, that's what everyone loves. Your delivery
I
of
have
no.
no idea about this.
Really?
You see, you're making me terribly self-conscious. I'll probably never do it right again now.
I'm sorry. They love it, including me. It's just the perfect no.
No. Is that how I do it? I'd have to actually.
Well, there's a scene
Is
where
that the Pat saying no, or is that
no Withers? There's a Withers scene where the player says, "Are skeletons even supposed to talk?" And you say, "Correct," and then we say, "Care to explain, Withers?" No. It's just so blunt.
I can relate to that. Yes. Yeah. No, he doesn't explain. He doesn't explain anything. So it's short, sharp, and to the point. That's where no comes from.
Oh, brilliant!
I'm not really like that, but I can imitate it. But that's what we do.
I have 2 questions for you, Stephen. What was your favorite quote from the game? And have you ever played Baldur's Gate 3 or any other games before?
I've never played any games in my life, any computer games. So, I mean, this is what I find so fascinating is that there I am involved in this thing, and without any realization of how popular it is and how sort of addictive it is, and how complicated and how imaginative and how many people play it. It's all been a sort of journey of discovery for me. What was the first question?
Do you remember a favorite line or quote from Withers?
But I do keep coming back to the what is the value of a mortal soul?
I've heard that a lot. Don't you? Are you worried?
It's pretty dark, isn't it? Really. I mean, you think, oh, hang on.
Yeah.
So yes, but I think Withers does value a human soul, actually, secretly. I think he, dead as he is, he relishes other people's being a life force. And, I think that's a redeeming characteristic you have. He's not a complete cynic.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if you remember this. There is a scene where he comes in and sort of resurrects, and there's this really big speech towards the end of the game. It's a really great scene. You performed it perfectly. Yeah.
Well, the other thing about all these, you talk about as a scene. For me,
it's not a scene.
It's not a scene. You just have the speech. It's up on a screen in front of you, and you read it, and you don't know the context necessarily. And that's what Beth and people like her are giving to you is the context of the scene, so you can make sense of it. But you are not actually, so you're not actually playing with another character. Then they put it all together, and of course it makes narrative sense and emotional sense. But we're sort of excluded from that process in a way. But so this is very interesting for me to hear all this, because it adds fuel to my when I next go in January.
Well, here's one of my favorite quotes. You said the word bosom. I haven't heard that in a game in a while.
Did I really?
Yes. Yeah, you did. You said that to me. Yeah, you were roasting me because I wasn't sharing a bed with any women that night. And Withers was saying, you're just going to be a loner, basically. It's like you don't have a bosom companion sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, a bosom companion. Yes. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's more to do with archaic English.
Yes. Of course. Yeah. I should have provided that context. Yeah, I should have said.
But well, I'm glad these things resonate. I don't actually remember saying that one, but
I'm keeping you updated. When it comes to characters like Withers, Stephen, that are obviously more than they initially appear, how much are you told in advance when reading for him, and how much knowledge or lack of influences your performance? You've touched on that a little bit, but I guess I'll add to that and say, is it difficult for you when there are so many permutations on the story and you've got to kind of wrap your head around all of that?
I really rely on the directors to sort of guide me in that field, because I don't know where the story is going most of the time. The only influence I occasionally have is, they do use this archaic English, and sometimes, I've done a lot of Shakespeare, so I kind of know how it works. And if you get a hath, if there's a hath in the wrong place, or a thou artst, or there's some sort of weird corruption of either sort of Elizabethan or medieval English, I do tend to flag it up. What tends to happen is they have to make 3 phone calls, one to Tokyo, another to Dublin, and another to San Francisco, to say, is it all right if we change hath to hast? And then I've stopped doing that because it takes so long, and we have limited time in the studio, so I just sort of bite the bullet, or I sort of change it subversively occasionally. But there's some really it is fascinating how actually this genre, the sort of Dungeons and Dragons thing, has actually adopted this archaic English form, and obviously it's become the norm now. But they're sort of treading a fine line occasionally in terms of their invention.
Yeah. Do you ever see that seeping into your own everyday life?
No, I'd never say thou hast not cooked my dinner properly. No, I really don't. My children might think I'm a bit archaic.
Yeah,
almost. But,
you've been doing Shakespeare since you were 16, right?
And now so has chariot appeared, and thou must raise an universal shout. The Khyber trembled underneath our banks, with the replication of your sounds made in our concave shores. It's extraordinary. You can, I can forget what I did for yesterday and what I had for breakfast, but you can remember
that
when you were 16. It's bizarre what the brain does. But yes, and then I've done the Scottish play 3 times. Measure for Measure I've done twice. I played the Duke and Angelo, once with Cheap by Jowl, playing the Duke, Angelo at Stratford, Royal Shakespeare Company. I love Shakespeare. He's brilliant.
Favorite?
Measure for Measure, I think. I love Cymbeline, but I've never been in it. I like the plays you don't see so often. I've seen a lot of Dreams. I've seen a lot of Macbeths. I've seen Julius Caesar. Actually, I did with a director called John Dexter. We toured India with Julius Caesar.
India.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I love traveling with work. It's one of the big bonuses. It doesn't happen so much now, although with telly, obviously. But theatre tours. Yeah, I went all around the world with Cheap by Jowl. I went to India for 3 months. We went to we went to Delhi, and then up to Lucknow, and to Kolkata, and then down to Chennai, which used to be Madras, and then Hyderabad, Bangalore, back to Mumbai, which was then Bombay. And then I had a holiday in Goa afterwards, in Kerala, Kerala is God's own state. It's absolutely beautiful. But it was incredible, and you go to these. The audiences were so hungry for British culture. I mean, I suppose because of that colonial past and what have you. But they were fantastic, and they'd sometimes, when the guy playing Anthony, they did Friends, Romans and Countrymen. They'd speak along with him. But wow. It was fantastic, and apparently we had this guy, the lighting guy. He was known as the Prince of Darkness. Andy, I can't remember his second name.
A Prince of Darkness?
Yes, well, I think that was a sort of, I think it was a sort of joke.
Yeah.
Apparently, we blacked out a quarter of Delhi when we did our show because they were so keen.
Wow.
I mean, it does sound a bit like sort of all the English are here, so the old colonialists. So we must be nice to them, and probably I don't think that would happen. But it was an unforgettable experience, and it was a fabulous country, and obviously a lot of poverty, but a lot of staggering beauty as well. And fantastic food.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If you went into someone's house, the first thing they do is feed you. They just sit you down. I mean, I remember going to visit someone, and they'd all eat. They just sat me down and fed me while I was there. So it was a fabulous experience. How
does it feel, Stephen, to play a god who just decided to retire?
I'm not planning to emulate that in my real life. I mean, the great thing about this job, I mean, I'm planning to, peg out on the, on stage or on the set. I love doing this for a living. So I'm not taking any cues from the retirement element, but I like the fact that he can be so casual about things that everyone's getting wound up about. That's the great thing. It's the great thing about age, I suppose. Is yes, I remember that. It's been through that. Got the T-shirt, and so that sort of attitude towards life of being not bored, but sort of having seen it all before. I think I quite enjoy playing.
Do you think you would go all right in a live action version of Withers or a theatre show version?
Well, who knows? I don't know. It's interesting. Has that happened yet? Has anyone?
I think Netflix greenlit a Baldur's Gate series or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I have to work for Netflix, so
give them a call.
My phone is available. Here it is. You can ring them. I did the Crown. No, they sound to me very well. And
that's good.
My contract, which was 6 months, finished the day before lockdown. So I'm very grateful to Netflix for spacing my contract in that particular time. It meant that we weren't destitute for the next 6 months.
You are my favorite actor in Baldur's Gate 3, Stephen. Thank you so much for an amazing performance.
Oh.
Another one here. Your delivery of speech in the post-credit scene was the cherry on top of immaculate storytelling. Thank you, Stephen.
Well, it's really pleasing and encouraging and gratifying to hear. But, I do give a hell of a lot of credit to the people who put this stuff together. I mean, they're geniuses who sew it all together and do invent these fantastical characters. So thank you for your approbation, but it's a lot to do with other people as well. I'm grateful to them.
Which was more fun, Stephen, Withers or His Majesty?
Well, I think Withers because His Majesty was. I've only ever done one morning on His Majesty. I've done acres of Withers.
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't know that they were using it. It was just a tryout. And they said, "Oh, we've got this character, and we might use him." Or I said, "What is he? He's a cat. And, shall I do it like this?" I mean, it was all on the hoof.
Wow.
So they've extrapolated an enormous amount of material from one morning's work. I think it's a bit like Judi Dench, who did 2 days on what was it, Queen Elizabeth, and got an Oscar. I mean, she thinks that's hilarious, and I'm sort of anyway. It's just weird the way the industry works, you know.
Oh, I know.
What gets profile and what doesn't, and you can put your heart and soul into something, you know, and be in a 3-hour movie and sort of sweat blood, and no one will notice it. No, I'm on a few cutting room floors. I loved working on it. But it hit the cutting room floor. But it was absolutely right that it should. I saw the film and thought, actually, this is a brilliant film. It really didn't need me, and so you have to be realistic. I didn't take it personally.
Yeah, it'd be tough though. It'd be tough, wouldn't it, to not be bummed out? I mean, I know you get paid, but
I mean, yes, yeah, it knocks your ego slightly, but it's the way of the world, you know.
One of
and in
those
that
things.
particular case, I could see the logic. Yeah.
How difficult was it for you to maintain Withers' speech habits, his vocabulary? Did you ever find that pattern of speech hard? Well, you touched on this earlier as well. I mean, you've been doing this for years, so that would have been easy.
Yeah, I've been doing it a long time, and yes, I think because I'm very familiar with archaic English, and can make sense of it. I mean, making sense of Shakespeare can be quite tough, but there's always wonderful footnotes at the bottom of the page with Shakespeare. There weren't here, but compared with Shakespeare, it's actually relatively easy.
Yeah.
And yes, it's what I've been doing for a living for 52 years. So hope to continue to do so. Possibly not for another 52. But...
Thank you, Stephen, for your work. It's not just Neil Newbon who got the awards, but from top to bottom, everyone was outstanding in creating an immersive world. Just wanted to take a moment to express my appreciation and gratitude.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's very heartwarming. And I didn't know Neil had got an award, actually, because in fact, I was using him because he was introducing me to Cameo, and I was hopeless. I kept trying to access the site, and I couldn't. So he posted stuff for me. So I'm very grateful to Neil, actually, and Beth. They're my sort of youth helpers, you know, in my old age. But well, thank you for that. And who knows? Maybe I'll get a gold star somewhere.
It's tough when there's 250 actors involved, you know, and they got to pick a couple. Is there anything you wanted people to take away from this character, Stephen?
Oh, never get tired of life. I mean, he's been around how many thousands of years?
Yeah.
And he's still invested in his rather sort of languid way. Okay, yes, all right. Well, do what you want to do. Make your mistakes. That's fine. That's how we learn. He's got quite a good take on the world, I think.
And last one from the fans: is there a song that encapsulates Withers and His Majesty that you can think of?
A song?
Yeah.
Oh that's really song Withers. It's no good.
Forever Young?
Yes, that'll do. Thanks, Dan. You got me out of a hole there. I'll take that.
Forever Young for Withers, and for His Majesty.
Oh, the cat song.
It's a cat song.
Oh, there's a wonderful thing by Mozart, I think, of two cats. Meow, meow. He's set cats to music. It's an opera. It's from an opera. So look up the cat song from a Mozart opera. I think it's Mozart.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But no, that would be perfect, because I heard it on the radio a few weeks ago. I thought, my God, that's absolutely stunning. And that was written in 1700.
Mozart wrote consisting mostly of cat noises. There you go. I've probably stuffed. Yeah.
Oh, well, listen, it's extraordinary. And the singers are fantastic, the people who sing it. I mean, their vocal range is phenomenal.
Yeah, everyone check that out. That's His Majesty's new theme song.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Stephen Boxer. Is there anything you wanted to say to the fans while I've got you here, Stephen, that have loved your work over the years in these games or other games?
Well, like all of us, we're very grateful, because without you, we don't exist. We have no purpose. So keep playing, keep watching, and keep enjoying. And it's they're wonderfully imaginative stories, and I've come around to the fact that, because very often, you worry when you bring up children, you're thinking, oh, they're spending all their time on screens. But actually, spending your time on this sort of stuff on a screen is really mind expanding, I think, rather than mind reducing. So, thank you for perpetuating that.
Very well put. I'll have to steal that. I like that. While I've got you here, is there any way we can hear the Slave Knight come alive? Do you remember that voice? Handed over that thing, your dark soul, because that line is so iconic in that Dark Souls series. Over that thing.
Handed over that thing, your dark soul.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's interesting. When you've been doing theatre for sort of 8 shows a week, the register of your voice, it's goes down really quite. It's funny. Sometimes as an actor, when you go up for a job, and if you've been out of work for a while, and your voice is sort of up here, you say, hello, I'm an actor. I don't sound like an actor. I want to sound like this.
How long are you through it? How long have you got left on this one?
Till January the 7th, and then I go to Serbia in February and March, and then who knows?
Then a holiday, maybe.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I think we Sam and I might go to. We've got a friend in Dubai. I'm curious. I've never been to Dubai. Strange place, sort of invented city in the middle of the desert. But I like traveling, and I'm just still curious about the world. Of course, one has to think of ecology and flying and all that stuff as well. So, yeah, we'll see.
Thank you, Steve. We really appreciate your time today, mate. And we can the fans can get a cameo from you. That's the one way if they want to hear from your characters.
Forgive me if I posted something yesterday, and 30 hours later it's still downloading. I don't understand this world. But
well, if you need help, I can help you out as well. You
okay,
let me know.
Dan, well, I will. Okay.
I'm around. If you need help, I'll give you a lending hand.
Yeah.
But you're not on social media, so you're one of the smart ones in this world. So we'll give you that.
I think so. I don't want to get drawn down that rabbit hole particularly. And cameos plenty for me, and it's enjoyable, and you kind of have, it's fun.
Exactly.
And I love making up stuff to give them, according to their requests. It's a bit of writing. It sort of exercises that other part of the brain.
Before I let you go, last one. Can Withers say something to Dan to round this episode out?
Dan, it looks as if you've got a halo around your head because there's a rather blue light behind you. I hope you can live up to it. How about that?
I like that. That was great. How did you? Okay, you really are an improvisational master. Thank you.
Well, I try.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I look forward to doing this again.
Okay, mate.